the new plan? Gonna take a stand, gonna find a way to change the game. You tell me that I should stay, trust what you say, and that's all okay. But everything starts to feel like a con, and I'm the pawn. Am I right or wrong?
Knock on, everybody.
This week, we're going to head up to Wisconsin with my good buddy Justin Jenson. He's been after a giant whitetail for many years, collected a lot of sheds, got tons of pictures, and it's finally come down to the moment of truth. You know, JJ and I have shared a lot of tree stands together. We've had some awesome hunts and tons of laughs, so I was really happy to find out that he finally put an arrow in a big one and got it all on film. Here's a look at the Canadian buck from a few years ago. And this buck just continued to haunt JJ because he would continually get unbelievable pictures of this deer all throughout the summer months. But once season opened, the deer would either come out at last light or he would come out and just face JJ so that he could never get a broadside shot. Now if we fast forward to this past season, on one particular night, the buck finally showed up out of nowhere with great filming light. All JJ could do is sit there and hope that this buck would finally make the mistake to give him a broadside shot.
Can't believe it. 4 years I've waited for that shot. Well, 1 year. Last year I kind of had a mishap with him, but man, I got 4 years of history with that buck. I can't believe it. I didn't get much penetration. I'm a little worried, but I think I got him. Oh man. Yes.
Here he is, finally, the Canadian buck. This is a deer that's haunted my dreams for the last few seasons, and I finally got him. I couldn't be happier. Last night I self-filmed myself. I got a good shot on him. You know, at first I thought it was marginal. I got to my neighbor's house, who also has a lot of history with this deer, Matt Anderson, and together we decided we were gonna sneak in to see what kind of blood we had and what we were working with. And fortunately, at the time, we recovered him. He didn't go far at all. Unfortunately, I didn't have the camera with me to do a good recovery down in there, but you know, I couldn't be happier. Here he is. We got a recovery now, and it's just a great ending to a long story for me. I got his sheds the past few seasons. I've seen him. I've been playing cat and mouse, and it's just a great ending. I'm so happy to finally have him.
Knock On TV is brought to you by Hoyt. Get serious, get Hoyt. Under Armour, always lethal. Lancaster Archery Supply. Redneck Bail Blinds. Sherlock Hunting Sights. Nocturnal Lighted Knocks. Fuse Hunting Accessories. and Yamaha ATVs and side-by-sides, real world tough.
The brand new Hoyt Nitro, first hunt with it.
That's my biggest buck with a bow. Big time, buddy.
Smoked him. Look at that heart beating on him. We just broke the new Nitro in, baby. And son of a gun, we just come in here and cook this cornbread.
Gonna put another buck in the truck with my new Hoyt Nitro.
Get serious. Get Hoyt.
The future of concealment technology has arrived. Ridge Reaper Camo. Under Armour has spent the last few years developing this pinnacle camouflage system because concealment is, and always will be, a necessity in the field. Able to work at a variety of ranges and in multiple environments, the pattern utilizes two key techniques. Coincidental disruption uses irregular shapes and angles to obscure the hunter's silhouette against a multitude of environments, giving prey little to no chance of identifying the hunter's shape or position. The second technique the pattern employs is a unique no-background color algorithm. By utilizing contextual color theory and a variety of gradation, the pattern creates a complex illusion of depth, as well as conforming to the wide range of tints, tones, and shades present in the field. These techniques create a one-of-a-kind pattern that changes the game in concealment technology. Go where you don't belong.
Dead Center.
On a previous Dead Center segment, I talked with you about the importance of recognizing your bubble position, and I showed you that if you lean your bow one way or another, you actually affect the directional path of that arrow. Now I want to take that one step further, and now that you recognize that you need to have it the same every time in calm conditions, I want to talk with you about how you can use that bubble to actually help you in windy conditions. This is something that we refer to in target archery as bubbling. When I shot on the U.S. archery team, we shot a lot of arrows at 70 and 90 meters. So in even the slightest amount of wind, we would learn how much it would greatly affect an arrow for left and right. So you really had to learn to pay attention to the flags on the targets, as well as do some practicing to see how much your arrow would actually drift, say in a 10-mile-an-hour wind, at one distance versus another. What you can do as a bow hunter is go to 50 yards or a distance that you feel comfortable with, and if you look at your phone with like a Weather Channel app and see that you have a 10-mile-an-hour wind that day, go ahead and shoot arrows with your level perfectly center. Aim at the center of the target and see how much you're drifting off that target. Say if you're drifting 10 inches, then go back and try to utilize your bubble and tilt your top cam into the wind a little bit so that your bubble actually slides about halfway across that line that's on one side or the other of your bubble. It's called half bubbling. And then see where your arrows group with a half a bubble. If it's not quite enough to be in there, then maybe you need to go with a full bubble or maybe a quarter bubble. If you practice this way, you're going to learn how to use your bubble to keep you amazingly accurate even in variable wind conditions. For a lot of people, including top-level target archers, this is way more effective than trying to aim off the spot that you want to hit.
Hey everybody, welcome to Iowa in November. It's ridiculously cold. There's a temperature 10 degrees with probably a 10-mile-an-hour wind coming across my left side. It's absolutely freezing. I'm in here in a big timber flat, very thick bedding area. During the rut like this, you got to be in the thick spots or sometimes in those little bitty small timber patches out in the wide open. That's where the bucks and the does love to go. It's frigidly cold, and I guess I've got the necessities. I've got the will. I've got a Hoyt Nitram. I've got 2 hot hands, a thermos of hot coffee, an Iowa buck tag, but I don't have a heated lone wolf seat. So, Jared, I know you're out there, buddy. I need a heated seat for these lone wolves. So let's see what happens.
This hunt started out with me getting a glimpse of an amazing buck that I call Scissors, one that I had encountered for several years. I saw him deep down in the timber trailing a doe, so I hit the horns together as a desperation move, and amazingly, the doe came in to look as well as several other bucks. If you listen, you'll hear deer literally walking 360 degrees around me and under my stand, all while Scissors stayed just outside of range and not giving me the shot angle. All I could do is keep my camera on Scissors and just see how this played out. Closed captioning brought to you by Red Willow Outfitters, Alberta's premier hunting destination, offering quality hunts for over 20 years.
The Yamaha Viking, and introducing the all-new Viking 6. The hardest working, most off-road capable side-by-sides in America. Built for the hardest working people on earth. You.
The new Block Vault is the most technologically advanced archery target ever built. The 4-sided shooting lets you shoot it close, long, precise, and real. Shoot field tips, broadheads, and expandables. Block Vault's high-density open-layered core and polyfusion design stops all high-speed bows and smaller diameter arrows with friction, not force. Block Vault. Get locked in.
Scissors, I got him. The shot was a little bit back. I was aiming for just a little bit too long. I couldn't even feel my thumb on my trigger. I thought I was pulling, and finally it went off right as he took a step, and I hit him. I know I hit him a little bit back, but I watched him go for quite a little ways, but then I seen him go down, so we're just gonna give him time. Yeah. Number 2 for my Nitram, another Iowa Giant for that new Hoyt right there. Yeah. give that buck a little bit of time, but I thought I'd show you guys my killing tree right there and how it was set up. Got 2 lone wolf alpha hang-ons, although I'm by myself as usual. But I got a set of lone wolf climbing sticks, a safety line from the top to the bottom, and 2 safety tethers at the top. That's what you need. That's a killing setup right there. Combine it with the right wind and some rutting bucks, and what more could you ask for? Just make sure you got something that'll put an arrow in the right spot. So let's get out of here.
Field Recon.
I'm going to show you guys a cool little trick on what I use on my rattling horns. And I guess over the years I've always had these horns with me. These are kind of my lucky rattling horns, and they are big. They were actually given to me by a good friend of mine, Earl Taylor. And I've always been told by several big buck hunters, if you want to call in big bucks, you got to use big horns. And I probably don't see as many deer because the smaller ones don't want to come into a fight like this. But honestly, like I've told you in the past, I don't like to call it the younger deer, because when they come in and end up smelling you in your setup, they figure out exactly what you are. So I like to use big horns to call in big bucks. But also, when it comes to taking rattling horns with you in the woods, it's always a challenge to keep these things quiet when you're moving them around, when you're putting them in your backpack. So what I did years ago was I actually took an old leather strap off one of my older release aids. So this is a leather strap, buckle strap off one of my old release aids, and I put a string down to both horns, and I can take this off, I can hook it back together and hook it on my tree. When I let go of my horns, I can rattle with them, and then when I'm done, I just put them back together. I take this buckle, put it over the top, and buckle them down. It's an awesome way to not only have a great way to hang your horns, but keep them quiet in your pack. It's a great little tip for you. Oh, here he is. Decided to give him till tonight, came in here, and sure enough, he was in this thick bedding. Shot was a little bit far back. He took that extra step, but did the right thing. Broadhead did its job. New Hoyt Nitrum did its job, and what an awesome, awesome buck. This is a buck that I called Scissors. Hadn't seen him in several years. I passed him 2 years ago because I didn't have enough light with the camera, and it was a tough decision to make. Didn't see him all last year. Figured EHD had got him, and then sure enough, 4 days ago I was in a stand with my uncle, and this guy came by. We didn't get a shot. Went in the next morning, didn't get a shot. Had to take a couple days break because the wind wasn't right. Went in there, freezing temperature. Decided to go for the day, but didn't need the whole day. Came in following a hot doe, and man, what an absolute giant. Thanks everybody for watching. Stay tuned. Be sure to visit knockonarchery.com to see our entire line of Nock On lifestyle clothing, as well as some awesome Nock On gear and accessories that I personally take to the field myself. Enter promo code SHOWFAN and I'll include a free signed photo. Also remember that all U.S. orders over 100 get free shipping. knockonarchery.com. For over 30 years, Lancaster Archery Supply has practiced the values of integrity, caring, and excellence to archery customers. Discover the largest online selection of bows, arrows, and archery accessories at lancasterarchery.com. Call on our archery experts for expert advice on all your archery needs. If you want the best service and gear, then visit Lancaster Archery Supply, America's largest archery-only supplier.
Lancaster Archery Supply.
He's the buck you've been after all season. You see him in the middle of the field every day. The problem is a stand isn't an option. What's a hunter to do? Get a redneck bail blind, that's what you do. The ultimate in stealth and concealment. The redneck bail blind features a sturdy metal frame, a hand-sewn water-resistant cover, and silent slide windows, all in a spacious blind that wildlife adapt to instantly, putting you in the heart of the action. The redneck bail blind. Problem solved. Register online to win your very own at redneckblinds.com.
Nocturnal lighted Nocks feature a linear string-activated switch for simple, fail-proof performance. Hidden deep within the Nock The switch will not turn on or off until you need it to. The completely sealed weatherproof battery keeps the super bright LEDs lit for over 20 hours to make sure you always find your arrow and your game. Nocturnal lighted Nocks. Switch on accuracy.
Nock and ready to rock.
All right, we're getting really close on our setup, but this next step is absolutely critical, and that's setting up your sight properly, because it's not just about mounting your sight to your bow and then sighting it in. Because as I've taught you in some previous dead center segments, your level is critical to your accuracy, and this is something that I learned from years with shooting with the U.S. archery team on the toughest field courses in the world. And having your sight set up properly before you ever mount it to your bow is really the difference between winning a gold medal and not, or the difference between coming home with a big buck or not. So we're going to talk about how to set up this level perfectly so that it gives you a true reading each and every shot. You're going to need to make sure you follow the instructions on doing this depending on the sight that you're using. I'm shooting Sherlock sights. I shoot them for target and for hunting because it's a sight that I've trusted for decades as a professional archer. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to want to set our second axis, which is setting your level this way, your second axis. And to do this, the best thing that I can tell you to invest in is a leveling device. If you're serious about yourself as a bow hunter and as a target archer, buying a leveler device is critical for properly setting up your sight. This is a bright sight leveler. You can get it at lancasterarchery.com, and what this does is it allows you to mount your sight onto this device, and then you can actually turn this knob, which levels this device perfectly, and then it allows you to have hands-free operation to match your sight to this level here on the back, which is going to be our first step. So I've got my sight mounted. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to level this device so that I know it's perfectly square with the surface that I'm working on. Then I'm going to make the simple adjustments to adjust my level, my second axis, to where my front level is exactly the same as the level on this device. On this Lethal Weapon Red, you have two simple lockdown screws that are easy to loosen and then have micro adjustments for your second and your third axis. So first we're going to do this second axis. I've went ahead and made the adjustments to where this bubble and this bubble are perfectly where they need to be. Then what you do is you're going to point this sight up in the air just like this, and you're going to see what that bubble does. If that bubble doesn't stay exactly in the center of that level, then that's telling you your third axis is off. And your third axis is you want your level perfectly square with the center shot or your arrow path. If that bubble is tilted one way or another like this, what will happen is when you point it up, you'll see that bubble go off to one side of the level. And then when you pointed it down, it'll actually go to the opposite side. So what happens is if you're paying attention to that bubble and you're shooting uphill, you'll end up leaning your bow with a false reading, and ultimately your arrows are going to go the direction that you lean that top limb. The same is true, and it'll be the opposite for when you try to shoot downhill. And on field courses across the world, I've seen some of the best competitors there are sit there and shoot group after group to the right, uphill, or to the left. And then when they start shooting downhill, their groups are exactly opposite. And it's all because they didn't set up their bubble properly to begin with. So read your instructions, set up that bubble properly, make sure you have a device to check your third axis. And if you want a little bit more detail about some of these specific subjects like this, go to the knockontv.com website, click on the articles tab, and you can download PDFs of hundreds of articles that I've written for free just to help further your education in this great sport.